All right, guys. This is a sad moment for me, and I'll tell you why. Coming to you live from the Catalina wine mixer at Catalina Island. I'll tell you why this is sad because I just did this is the Week 10 recap and Week 11 predictions. What you don't know is I literally just did it, and I probably talked for 15 minutes. And I look in my phone ran out of storage, so pretty excited about that to redo it all over again. The power rankings were pretty good, and here we go because it's mildly depressing that I got to redo this the whole thing again. So last week, let's start with last week, Week 10. I'll just do a little recap here. I think I can talk from memory. Tatanka Blanco versus Downtown St. Brown. Downtown St. Brown did pull it out. It was luck, I think, but he did pull it out. So to be honest, that's going to speak volumes in the fantasy or in the power rankings this week. There are two. There's an ESPN, but they're stupid. And then there's the medias that they contact me and give me the rankings. I don't make them myself. So, don't take it up with me if you don't like where you're at. But Downtown St. Brown beat a juggernaut this week. That's going to do wonders for his power rankings. The score was 116-84. We don't really like to talk about it because it's a fluke that's ever happened and probably never happen again. I don't know if you recall, I played Downtown St. Brown earlier this year and I beat him by like 70. So, that's just what happens. It's part of the game, but man, making a move in the power rankings this week. It didn't hurt that you had Lamar Jackson with 41 points this week. Next, we have DeMartiak Arrest versus Wrecking Crew, 103-86. I believe I called this one. I called it DeMartiak Arrest. You're pulling in at 5-5. You were below 500, but man, look at you really creeping back. Not going to do much for your power rankings. You're still, you may be slightly top tier. You were right in the middle, but you did knock off. Actually, in the power rankings, if I'm not mistaken, last week I think, you knocked off number 2, I believe. So good for you, DeMartiak Arrest, Will. That's good. Cody was going nowhere. Next, we have Willie Nelson versus Mixing the Sauce. Mixing the Sauce, he got dropped this week. He actually had a winning record, puts him at 500, which is about the caliber player that you are. I mean, you're a 500 player. If we're just being real, I mean, you could win any week, but you usually don't. So just 500. They call you double trouble. Hey, 50-50, 500. That makes 1.0, 1,000. Double trouble, 2 of you. You get it. So, that's where you're at, Mixing the Sauce. And you're coming up against a juggernaut this week. I would hate to be you this week, but I don't know anything about predictions yet. So, Willie Nelson, you pulled this one off big time. You were tied. I mean, we really have a 3-way tie for 9th place right now. And Willie Nelson, you're in it. You're tied for 9th. We'll see what the power rankings unveil, but you're not good at fantasy, but you did beat a guy who's 500. So I guess there was that. You still got a losing record. Good for you. Good for you, Willie Nelson. Rebuilding season versus Rusty Buckets. This was game of the week last week, and the reason it was game of the week is because the loser outright becomes the worst player in the league. And so even though you have 2 players with the same record, one is outright worst player in the league because they went head-to-head. Rusty Buckets, you finally pulled out of the 10th slot. That speaks volumes for you. I think you should take your family out and celebrate because you're moving up. You know what I mean? Last week you had nowhere else to go but up, and you are now climbing. So you're like that guy on The Price is Right, the mountain climber guy, hilltopper. Whatever that Swiss Alps guy, the game. That's you, climbing all the way up 1 slot. Now you, rebuilding season, Mitchell, turns out you're the worst player in the league. Now, it's odd that I called it week 1, 2 worst players in the league, and that's where you fall. But you have fallen to number 10. Rusty Buckets is going places. He's riding high, got a lot of confidence coming into this week. We'll see what the projections hold. Predictions, I don't know. Maybe it's the same thing. I'd have to look it up. Then we have bye week versus Red Nuts. Red Nuts versus won 103-95. The amazing thing is that if Joe Burrow didn't have one of his top 5 ever fantasy games in fantasy football, I believe, I didn't go look at the totals, but can't imagine Joe Burrow having 45 too many times. So I'm going to guess it's a top 5 all-time fantasy performance for Joe Burrow. Red Nuts, you would have lost, and you were in the power rankings. You were number 1 in the power rankings. You pulled it out, but it was a miracle that a guy had 45 points, which is a rarity to have that amount of points in fantasy. Doesn't happen often. So, yeah, we'll just see where that puts you in the power rankings. That was last week. But let me move into week 11, and let's just see what we have. So, Tatanka Blanco versus Mixing the Sauce. As I said, Mixing the Sauce, you're a 500 team. Tatanka Blanco is a real juggernaut. But we'll see where it falls in the power rankings. But projections is 105 to 97. It's actually ESPN has Mixing the Sauce projected, but we all know they smoke crack sometimes. So that's probably not accurate, just like their power rankings aren't accurate. But don't take it up with me. I don't do the power rankings. Multiple media sources all over do that. It's not me, so you'd have to contact numerous other people on social media, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So for this particular game, though, that's what the projections are for ESPN. Tatanka Blanco takes this one by 15, Mixing the Sauce. He's a 500 team at best, so he loses this week, maybe wins next week. He'll be 500 on the season. Tatanka Blanco's really moving up. 5-5, took a couple back-to-back losses. One, he let a guy win because he was dating his mom, felt bad a long time ago, he was dating her and felt bad. So there was that. And then last week, downtown St. Brown, he pulled out a victory of his life, beat a juggernaut. And big win for him. He's a team on the rise, I can tell you that. Next we have rebuilding season versus Willie Nelson. This is a bottom tier game, except for rebuilding season. You are outright 10, but in my opinion, I don't know if it's an outright play. I don't know if it's a three-way tie for 9th or 7th. I don't do that. I think it's 7th until they shake it out. So I'm not doing power rankings. I'm just saying my own opinion without media sources involvement. Willie Nelson, you're a bottom tier team, but it's a three-way tie. Mitchell, you outright hold the 10th spot. Good for you. Projections this week, 93-94. Willie Nelson, I'm actually going to take Willie Nelson in this one because you don't ever pick the bottom team. You never pick the bottom team. I did it twice with Rusty. He lost both times. Let's just say what it is. If you're a betting man, you don't bet the Cowboys because you think they got to win one, right? If they're terrible, they're terrible. You don't bet the Giants because they're like, eventually they got to win one. Yeah, eventually they do, but they're going to take 10 more losses until they do. It's just not a good betting strategy. Willie Nelson, I think he's got this one by 5. Downtown St. Brown versus Wrecking Crew. Now this has big time playoff implications written all over it. Wrecking Crew is tied for the best record in the league. But we all know that really doesn't mean anything. I gave an example in the last 15-minute video that didn't work, that Kansas City Chiefs, though they were undefeated, they weren't number 1 in the power rankings. They are now, just out of default because they're 9-0. But they weren't number 1 in the power rankings, and they were undefeated, and other teams weren't. That was weird. This is kind of the same deal. I know Wrecking Crew, he's going to argue and get his feelings hurt that he's got a better record and he's not number 1. But that I don't make it. The media sources do. And to be honest, it's taken into consideration because your patience level. And so that's factored in. They don't think you have a good team unity, maybe not a good team manager. It's just impulse. You need impulse control, and you got to learn restraint. And that factors into power rankings. I don't have anything to do with it. Just multiple social media sources. I'm sure that guy over there is probably somebody who types it in and whatever. You got a whole bar full of people down, like all those people. That's the media there, and so that's the media down there, and they don't like the attitude either. And so I'll just get with them about it later. It's not a big deal. So Wrecking Crew versus Downtown St. Brown. Downtown St. Brown, you are projected to lose. Wrecking Crew is projected to win this 102-95. I'm actually going to go opposite. I think Wrecking Crew is about to implode, and it probably starts this week because, Downtown St. Brown just beat a juggernaut. He's on the rise for sure, and that's going to put Wrecking Crew. I think you're going to lose this one by 5. DeMartiac Arrest versus bye week. DeMartiac Arrest, you're sitting at 500. Just got there with a big win last week versus a team who had the best record in the league, and now you've evened him out. Even though he was not number 1 in the power rankings, he had the best record in the league. This week you play bye week. Bye week is non-existent, but here's one odd fact about bye week. Bye week, actually let me check something really fast just to see if this point hammers home here. And I'm going to look at the standings in the league. Okay, bye week is on the other side, so it's not quite as important. What I was going to note about bye week is that bye week, at a 4-6 record, is 3-1 in his division. So, man, when you have to go against bye week in your division, if you're in the same division, you guys are in trouble. He's at 3-1. But you know what? Not today. DeMarty Arrest. You're projected bye week to win 93-92. DeMarty Arrest is going to win this one by probably 15 points. And, Jalen Hurts is a guy now. Will's probably been starting Daniels. That's why he's a 500 team. But he did pull it out. He's going to win again this week. He's going to have a winning record. But to be honest, Will, I think you might just squeak in the rankings at a top tier team, top 5. But we'll see. I don't know. I haven't checked it yet, so I don't know where the power rankings fall. And then lastly, we have Rusty Buckets versus Red Nuts. This would have been last week. This matchup last week would have been like a Rocky Balboa story where he comes from nothing. He doesn't even box anymore. He's working at a meat plant and he faces the world champion. That was essentially what was going to happen this week, but somehow, Rusty, you pulled one out. You're not the worst team in the league anymore. Congratulations on that. It's definitely Mitchell in rebuilding season. So now it doesn't quite have the same ring as it would have last week because you're tied for 7th. I don't know if you're 7, 8, or 9. I mean, there's a 3-way tie for guys who really suck at the bottom tier. Outside of Mitchell, you win that one hands down. This week you play Red Nuts, though. Projections are 96 all. You are supposed to be tied. ESPN projects it. We all know that's not true. Red Nuts at 8-2. He's going to beat Rusty Buckets by 47 this week. I hate to do that because I know you're on the rise, but to be perfectly honest, Rusty, even with a loss this week and a rebuilding season win, which is not going to happen, well, it could. He's playing Willie Nelson, another bottom tier team. Rusty Buckets does not return, even with the loss this week and a rebuilding season win. You do not return to 10. You just beat rebuilding season outright, and that's what it is. So rebuilding season, you're going to have to put 3 or 4 together to even pull out of that kind of spiral. But yes, Red Nuts wins by 47 this week. So now let's move on to the power rankings. Now there's 2 power rankings. There's an ESPN power rankings, and then there's a media source all over the country, and they just mail it in. It's like the college football rankings. I get I got so many different people, so many voters coming in that pick these. So don't take it up with me. If you're not where you want to be, just try harder. You're just not. That's it. I don't know what else to tell you. So right now, setting at 10. All right, ready for the drum roll? We don't need it because we all know number 10 is Mitchell. You're terrible at fantasy. You're 10th place, outright, hands down, no tying. You got that. You did win something. You actually did win something last week. So good for you, 10th place in the power rankings. Now, this is too close to call, and ESPN has Rusty Buckets at 9, has bye week at 8, has Willie Nelson at 7, and I'm going to be honest, I think those 3 is a 3-way tie for the next shittiest player in the league. So, and I don't know. It's a real toss-up here as to who's worse. Bye week has a better record, but even in the ESPN rankings, with a better record than Willie Nelson. Where's the records? I don't see it. Whatever. I know you're 4-6. I don't know what you are, Willie Nelson. I don't remember. I think you're 4-6 also. Yeah, you're just a lower tier team. That's what it is. There's nothing I can do about that. What is it? What is it in the power rankings? Tied for 7th place because I don't know where the next 3 fall. I have no idea. Now coming in at this is going to be an odd number. Coming in at 6. Oh man, and the power rankings coming in at 6. Ooh. I think mixing the sauce, that's where you're at. Not only is it my rankings, at this point it's kind of mirrored outside of the 3-way tie. You coming in at 6th place, definitely a lower tier team. Nothing we can do about that. Just try harder, mixing the sauce. You're at 500 now. And really you're kind of a 500 guy, you know what I mean? You're double trouble. There's 2 of you, 50-50, 1-2. You're a twin, same thing, all makes sense. Just mathematically in your life, you're a 50-50 guy, double trouble. That's what it is. You'll probably, this week you're versing a juggernaut. Probably going to lose that one pretty handily, as I think the projections already said. What did I say? You were going to lose by 30? I don't know. It was something to that effect. I don't remember. Somewhere close. Did I even do that? Did I skip it? Just in case I skipped it, and then I'll continue the power rankings. Tatanka Blanco wins versus Mixing the Sauce this week. I don't know. 27 points. Just in case I skipped it. All right, so now back to the power rankings. Mixing the Sauce, you're at number 6, which means, guess what, drum roll? Will, you came out of the bottom 5. And to be honest, Will, the power rankings have you at 3. Oh, man, this is big. You guys ready for the top 5? Here we go. So coming in, the power rankings at number 5. And, oh, man, this is going to come out of nowhere. DeMarty Ekarest, you come in at number 5. You're number 5 in the power rankings, and there's just nothing I can do about it. It's what it is, DeMarty Ekarest. I know you feel real good about yourself coming in with this 5-5 record, but you're still 500. A loss this week puts you in the losers category, just mathematically as far as wins go. Not a good spot to be in. It's what it is. Sorry about your luck. You come in at number 5. Now, it's not, remember, media sources. Take it up with those guys. It's not me. Coming in at number 4. Oh, now this is good. This one's going to be a shocker. Guys aren't ready for that. Actually, coming in at number 4 is Tatanka Blanco. Definitely over Will. Yeah, over DeMarty Ekarest. Tatanka Blanco comes in at 4. Okay, so not a shocker. Absolute juggernaut. Let somebody win one time because he used to date his mom, and then last week, just a fluke deal. Which brings in something crazy this week. Shooting up from nowhere would be honestly downtown St. Brown. So coming in at our 3rd spot on the power rankings. Ready for the drum roll? 3rd spot on the power rankings. Wrecking Crew. Wrecking Crew comes in on the 3rd spot. Listen, I don't make the rankings. It comes from various media sources. They heard about the text messages that were sent. They don't really like. They just thought it was like not a classy move. You know, like, hey, quit trying to pressure people, because you know what comes when you can't rush greatness. And I feel like when you rush greatness and people start hearing about it all over the country and the media sources, that's just what it is. And they've ranked you 3rd. They didn't like the attitude, I don't think, and there's nothing I can do about it. Because what I told them when they said that you were coming in 3rd in the power rankings, I was like, no, you can't do that. He's 8-2. He had the best record last week before he lost. There's no way that you can put him, rank him at 3. He's got to be 2. That's what I was saying. And they were like, no way. Because coming in at number 2 after a juggernaut victory, beat an absolute juggernaut last week, downtown St. Brown moves into number 2 in the power rankings. I never thought I'd say it. I thought he was a lower tier team most of the year. He's really proven that he's coming out of nowhere. Downtown St. Brown right now is setting at he's setting at 5-5, but big victory last week. And that has soared him in the power rankings so much to where the believers put him at number 2. And that's crazy. Which leaves us with number 1, and still remaining at number 1 with a victory last week, Red Nuts. Though you did squeak one out because Joe Burrow had a top 5 game of his life, you're still number 1, and you're still the guy to be reckoned with. And, that's where the power rankings are at. I'm proud of you, Red Nuts, especially for a guy who's non-existent. But that's what it is. Listen, if you guys don't like where you're at, power rankings wise, has nothing to do with me. You're gonna have to take it up with other people. I don't control the rankings; it just comes from various people. So, once again, we'll check it out. Right there is where it comes from. I don't make the rankings. I just report them. So, anyway, thanks for listening in, guys. I'm gonna hop off here, and we'll see you next week. Mitchell, are you down there? Mitchell, can you hear me? Mitchell?